Imagine waking up to discover that nearly $500 million in customer funds have vanished into thin air. Not from a high-tech, midnight heist, but slowly drained over several years while the chief executive was distracted, writing reviews on his personal dessert blog. This is the story of Mt. Gox, the world's very first massive cryptocurrency disaster. It is a bizarre tale of how an eccentric programmer took a website designed for trading fantasy cards and turned it into the beating heart of the global crypto economy, only to watch it collapse under the weight of unimaginable neglect. How could over 70% of the world's Bitcoin transactions depend on a platform with no basic security? The answer is far more shocking than anyone could have guessed. To understand this disaster, we have to travel back to Tokyo in the early days of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin was still a digital Wild West, a playground for geeks, libertarians, and visionaries. At the center of this new universe sat Mt. Gox. But what does that name actually mean? It stands for Magic, the Gathering Online e-exchange. Originally created in 2006 by programmer Jed McCaleb, the platform was built simply for players to trade fantasy card games. In July 2010, seeing the rise of this strange new digital currency, McCaleb repurposed the site into a Bitcoin exchange. Less than a year later, in March 2011, he sold it to a brilliant but eccentric French developer living in Japan named Mark Karpelès. Karpelès was a man who loved coding, but he also loved baking, cats, and virtual world building. Little did the world know, this quirky programmer was about to be handed the keys to the largest digital gold vault on the planet. Under Mark Karpelès, Mt. Gox grew at a breakneck speed that no one could have anticipated. By 2013, the exchange was handling over 70% of all global Bitcoin transactions. It was the undisputed king of the crypto world. If you wanted to buy, sell, or trade Bitcoin, you almost certainly had to go through Mt. Gox. Karpelès was suddenly the kingmaker of a new financial empire, operating from a trendy office in Tokyo. But while the front of the house looked like a high-tech financial institution, the back of the house was a complete disaster. What the public did not know was that the entire empire was already built on quicksand. Behind the scenes, the vault had been breached years before, and the money was already flowing out. What you are about to see is how a massive digital vault was left wide open from the very beginning. The collapse of Mt. Gox was not a sudden dramatic heist. It was a slow, agonizing bleed. To understand how this happened, think of Mt. Gox as a giant water bucket. Customers poured their Bitcoins into the bucket for safekeeping. But the bucket had a massive hole at the bottom. This hole was Mt. Gox's hot wallet, the internet-connected storage where they kept active funds. As early as late 2011, hackers managed to steal the private keys to this hot wallet. Armed with these keys, the hackers did not empty the vault all at once, which would have triggered immediate alarms. Instead, they slowly siphoned off Bitcoins over several years. But why didn't Karpelès notice? Because Mt. Gox's internal accounting was completely broken. The company did not separate customer funds from company funds, and their internal database failed to register the outgoing stolen Bitcoins. The system kept showing users that their balances were intact, crediting them with Bitcoins that simply did not exist. In reality, the bucket was nearly empty, but the digital ledger falsely claimed it was full. To keep the illusion alive, Karpelès would later be accused of manipulating the system to artificially inflate the exchange's balance sheet. As the years dragged on, the cracks began to widen. In June 2011, a hacker manipulated the system to crash the price of Bitcoin on Mt. Gox from $17 to just 1 cent, stealing 25,000 Bitcoins from user accounts. Then, in September 2011, another hack drained 77,500 Bitcoins. Some investigations suggest the exchange was technically insolvent from this point forward, carrying an undisclosed 80,000 Bitcoin deficit, before Karpelès even fully understood the scale of the mess. Inside the office, the chaos was palpable. An internal worker later revealed that MT, Gox completely lacked a version control system. This meant that every single code change, no matter how urgent, required personal, manual approval from Karpelès himself. While critical security bugs remained unfixed, Karpelès was often distracted by other projects. While the digital house was burning down, the chief executive was busy. But then, the real-world consequences arrived at his doorstep. It was a sign of the storm that was about to break. The breaking point arrived on February 7, 2014. Mt. Gox abruptly suspended all Bitcoin withdrawals, leaving thousands of users stranded. The exchange blamed a technical flaw known as transaction malleability, a bug that allowed transaction IDs to be altered. But this was merely a smokescreen to hide the fact that the vault was empty. On February 24, the website went completely dark, and all trading was suspended. Finally, on February 28, 2014, Mt. Gox filed for bankruptcy protection in Tokyo. The announcement sent shockwaves through the global financial community. Mark Karpelès stood before the cameras and admitted that 850,000 bitcoins were gone, worth around $450 million at the time. Then came a bizarre twist. Just 3 weeks later, on March 20, Mt. Gox announced they had miraculously found 200,000 bitcoins, sitting in an old, forgotten digital wallet from 2011. It reduced the total loss to 650,000 bitcoins. But for the victims, the nightmare was only just beginning. The human cost of this digital negligence was devastating. These were not just wealthy speculators. They were ordinary people who had trusted the world's largest exchange with their futures. One user in Japan lost over 12 million yen, roughly $122,000, representing almost his entire retirement savings. A young Swedish user, along with his girlfriend and father, lost $49,000 that they had painstakingly saved for a down payment on a house to start a family. A panicked student pleaded online, stating that the money trapped in Mt. Gox was all they had left to pay off a mountain of debt. Outside the Tokyo office, a furious British customer named Colin Burgess set up a lonely, desperate protest, holding signs demanding answers, becoming the face of global outrage. In August 2015, Japanese police arrested Mark Karpelès. He was eventually convicted of falsifying data to inflate the exchange's balance sheet, receiving a 30-month suspended prison sentence, though he was acquitted of embezzlement. In a strange postscript to his fallen empire, Karpelès later became the Chief Technology Officer of London Trust Media. And in 2023, he was granted the title of Duke and became the Minister of Technology for a micronation called the Joseon Cyber Nation. More than a decade after the spectacular collapse, the ghost of Mt. Gox still haunts the financial world. Under the supervision of bankruptcy trustee Nobuaki Kobayashi, the legal battle has dragged on for years. Creditors only recently began receiving their long-awaited repayments in July 2024, with a plan to distribute 140,000 bitcoins, now worth billions. The deadline for the final repayments has been pushed to October 31, 2025. The Mt. Gox disaster fundamentally reshaped the cryptocurrency industry, serving as a harsh warning that in the digital world, trust is the most fragile asset of all. It proved that without security, even the mightiest financial empires can vanish overnight. If you want to uncover more stories of spectacular financial collapses and the human cost behind them, make sure to subscribe to the Collapse Files. Until next time, keep your assets secure.